All right, so this is a video from the VGC. This has to do with Concord, the team that's making that ultra super woke DEI team shooter that is supposed to apparently compete, I guess, with Overwatch. Very strange because why would you want to compete with Overwatch like in the same space? You're making a DEI shooter and you're using that to go against another DEI shooter. I'm pretty sure people are just going to stay with Overwatch. The very few people who are apparently trying to play that game for whatever reason, but apparently they're going after it. So this particular person talks about in the interview that they think that the backlash that they received from the trailer is just basically a fart in the wind. Doesn't matter. Nobody cares. It doesn't amount to anything. You know what I'm saying? So let's go over this video. We're going to play it and let's react.
Concord is a 5 versus 5 hero shooter from Firewalk Studios. The game will be published on PS5 and PC later this year, with a beta coming in July.
Oh, one quick thing. So I didn't realize that this game was going to be coming out for PC. This game is going to get roasted on PC, and I'll tell you why. So, number one, it's going to require the linking of PlayStation Network in order to play it. That right there is going to completely destroy any hope that they have at a large player base. That's just being honest with you. Number one. Number two, the fact is that this game, like Overwatch is already huge on PC. Valorant is huge on PC. I don't really know what kind of base you're going to try to take from those two games, but I don't think you're going to be able to do it with these bland ass fucking characters that you're trying to pass off as stunning and brave.
The team behind the game is made up of powerhouses in the shooter genre, with veterans from Destiny, Call of Duty, and Apex Legends among them. Concord has been in development for half a decade. The public got its first real look at the game earlier this year during Sony's State of Play presentation. The trailer, which showed off the game's cast, didn't go down massively well, with some criticising its tone and dialogue. Well, we've now had
we were criticizing a lot more than its tone and dialogue, but I'm just saying.
3 hours to play the game, and the chance to speak to Kim Crimes, Concord Director of IP, and John Wisniewski, lead character designer on the game, about Concord's plans for the future, the gameplay philosophy, and that controversial trailer.
Yeah, that trailer, that moment is such a tiny slice of everything that we've been working on for years and years and years. We're excited for the game and for the IP to be the game to be in people's hands, the IP to be in people's minds. I think
So I don't think the IP is going to be in people's minds at all. Maybe I'm just being a little too harsh on it, but I don't think it's going to be in people's minds at all. I think that this is going to be a game that's going to just kind of come and go, so to speak. I mean, look at this. 2K views on this, 103 likes. I can't see the dislikes, and I don't have my extension installed, but I gotta imagine that if it's anything like the last trailer, they got 44,000 plus dislikes. Yeah, it's not going to end well for this game.
personally very excited for the IP for folks to delve into the Galactic Guide if that is something they choose to do, for these vignettes to come out on a weekly basis. You'll start to fall in love with the depth of the characters. That's something that you learn week to week. That's their personalities will unfold, their relationships will unfold for you.
Like, why would I care about the relationships of these characters in a team shooter? Maybe that's me. You know what I honestly seem to think that they're doing? I think what they're doing is that they're focusing on their only saving grace is to do something that Overwatch didn't do. Does that make sense? So I feel like what they're doing in their advertisement is they're constantly talking about the PvE aspect of the game, right? So like the vignettes, the stories, that's what they're asking. That's what they're focusing on. That's what they're trying to talk about, because they're not really talking too much about the gameplay, because they already know that people are going to compare them to Overwatch and Valorant. So since Overwatch dropped the ball on the PvE mode, which I still think it's amazing that people play that game after that promise was fell through. I think that that's what they're going to focus on. They're going to focus on PvE oriented, like storytelling and whatnot, because that's really what people are. That's what people are going to try to get from this. Otherwise, what the fuck do you need this game for?
Their backstories, none of that is something you can get in a tiny little slice of it. But that's a start. That's
apparently the video has 120 dislikes. So there you go, over 50% ratio.
There's something there. So I'm glad folks watched it. I'm glad they participated, and I can't wait for them to see more, to see everything that is there.
part of the core identity of.
You know what it's going to be, right? When they say vignettes and little video clips that you're going to be able to see every week to tell you the story of your character, you know what it's going to be, right? It's going to be nonstop gay videos. Like every single one of these characters has fucking pronouns. What do you think that they're already talking about relationships? You're going to have to watch forced vignettes every single week of your character getting banged by another dude or two girls scissoring. You know what I mean? Like that's really what it's going to be. That's
Firewalk
as sad as it is.
That we make and will hopefully continue to make is our gameplay foundation. We have a team that is uniquely skilled at building very immersive and fluid gameplay that just feels tremendous in the player's hands. The second they pick up the controller, the game just comes to life, and like every action is responsive. And I've been a player of these games my whole life. These games are what I love to play, and I know that.
So he's been a player of team shooters his whole life, like your entire life, even back when they didn't exist, when you were like younger. Like I don't know, unless maybe you played Team Fortress, perhaps. But yeah, I highly doubt that.
It's all about how does it play, right? And so that's like, for me, that's the moment. I want players to come into the beta. If they don't like it after the beta, that's fine. But I think, yeah, the initial reaction is all about like, how does it actually play in your hands?
So with such a focus on unique,
You know what I noticed? Do these people sound excited when they talk about their game? Like, is it just me? Like, I sound more excited roasting the game than they sound talking about the game, which I think is just very telling. You know, because if I was designing a game, I would be excited as fuck. I'd be like, all right, I'm ready to talk about everything. You know what I mean? But it just seems like they're not very excited. They sound like almost as if they're kind of dead inside, if that makes sense.
characters in a fantastical setting, how does that translate to a competitive game environment when players have to be able to make decisions without a moment's hesitation?
Our sort of like not fancy designer term for it is the round of the corner test. But it's an actual term that we use as we develop these characters, and sort of the idea behind it is that it's a competitive PvP game, which means that for players to be competent, they need to be able to make split-second fight or flight decisions.
I highly doubt that this is going to be anything sort of competitive. I'm just being real with you. Like, do you guys think this is going to be competitive at all? I guarantee you this will never be in any esport. Highly doubt it. This game is literally going to release, and after the first month, once the honeymoon phase is over, it's going to completely tank in player count. I would be very curious to see the PC numbers. With the PSN linking and whatnot, I'd be very curious to see what the player base would be on Steam.
It's an asymmetrical game, so some characters have advantages that other characters don't have. When two characters round the corner into a combat space, we need players to be able to immediately make an intelligent fight or flight decision. And so they need to see that character and get a really strong read and understand who I'm up against versus what I'm bringing to the table. Do I fight or do I peace out and try to take this, like find an advantage in another way?
Yeah, and I would say even given so that they passed this round the corner test, there's so much that we can do in a shape of a character. I'll call it environmental storytelling on a character. There's so many ways, and we have brilliantly amazing art teams from the concept art all the way down. And
okay, now at this point, if you're saying your art team is incredible after seeing those particular designs, I'm sorry, I gotta hit you with the video, because now we're just full of shit at this